Song 2. The Forester's Story. Hardly a word between us, just the wolf tracing our movements. Day left slowly, becoming dusk, and I thought, here too we are bound by the sky and the stars. And as we went, I faltered. Why me? Why this journey? I did not ask for it. I'm no pilgrim, rather one who aims but dares not shoot, or clenches, then unclenches, always threatened by the folly of fear, or the soft slide into weariness. We stopped at a beck to drink, and she looked at me and said, I will tell you what drove me to meet you. What? I looked at her. I have worked with many people, she said. Sick people, mad people, many with great minds, people of your time, people of other times. I thought, you, a forester. But I have always felt in them a fear of that which escapes us and seems so easily false. And each one of my people, each one, seemed to dread the open road, and always to ensconce themselves in some hiding place, or comfort, or corner of great esteem. One, the matriarch, always the wise bosom of the family, the laughter and the get-togethers. Another, a good speaker, romantic, carried aloft by the power of his words and the pleasure of transporting others. A third, an influential editor, choosing this script and that play, a vivid song, an epic poem of the past, always directing from behind the scenes. And then, the leader of political meetings, of media and strategies, talking to the generals to make them decide, questioning the bureaucrats on their dedication to the nation. These people I tell you of are the fear within me. They are why I am caught in this always aloneness and the apparent mistake of life. It happened one evening. It was late. I was at home, and all had left. I stood looking into the dark of the coming night sky. I heard a sound, a knock at the door. Quiet. And then again. At this time of night? Who can that be? A neighbour? At this hour? I went down and unlocked the door. It was a woman, careful and polite, but open and with a powerful sense of purpose. You, she addressed me, forgive me for coming at this late hour. I have a friend who is in great danger. Could you? I'm afraid I am too late to help him. But could you help me to? Would you go to him? I thought, who is she? Why do you come here to ask me? I said. Because I believe you have a way beyond the ordinary. But you do not know me. I do. When I was a small girl, you knew my father. I have been so desperate. You lifted me up once in the garden, and as unknowing as I was, the words you spoke I have never forgotten. Tonight is the 13th of December. It is Lucia. He is encased in darkness. Only your window showed light in this black alley. Woman, I thought, have you no fear? She, I believe me. Do not say that, she continued. I hold dear this man, and have not heeded his terrible cries. Death tears at him, cuts his fibres, breeds only weariness in his heart. I have sought you out, not of my own will. I do not know where he is, just that he has been thrown down to a place all men deny. She stopped and looked at me, and then said, A greater woman has lifted me up in her arms, and I am here to ask you. The forester looked at me. So now you know, and I may not falter when all the strength of womanhood lays her arms about me. No, I answered. I rose and thought, the time has come for me to walk out into all this. Song 3. Ferry over the Acheron. Downhill now, steep, down, bare and exposed, to a pair of great old gates, wide open, and a battered sign, one word only, desolation. Is this real? I asked, and she saw my face. Yes, it is real, but remember, you are just a visitor. This is the place I told you about. Come now. Through the gates and on down, I could hear voices in mixed languages, but it was more jabber than talk, howling and groaning, and in between, frightful cryings out. Then I saw them, running and shouting, some like horses, tearing round in circles, others groping and fumbling along the ground, and yet others being dragged, or helped along. "All these people," I said to her, "where do they come from? So many, so much grief, and all rushing and desperate." "They are those with no hope of death. Their blind lives trail on in them, to torment them, to hold them back. They drag themselves along and cannot escape." And then I saw more of them. They were coming over the hill, more and more. There were crowds of them, a great army of people coming towards us, following torn banners and the remains of flags furling in the wind, and they came fast. Are all these people dead?" I thought. And as they passed right by us, I saw the face of someone I recognized, one who had been a minister of state. Then, who was this? A highly regarded leader of industry. And together with him, another face, a man you would never forget, a murderer of children. They were all half naked and calling out and flailing at swarms of hornets and wasps until their faces ran red. Their footsteps were hard falling, and as each foot fell, they shrieked aloud in pain. We too were drawn along by the crowd, and I saw ahead a broad river where they came to a halt. And there, from the opposite bank, a boat making its way towards us. I wanted to ask, but there was no time for questions. She just said, "It's the River Acheron." We followed on towards the great river and down to its bank, and there we saw the ferry coming close to the quayside. I could see the captain, the ferryman himself, on deck with a loud hailer. "Woe to you awful people! Line up now to be ferried over to endless night and bitter cold. The only heat is incendiary, burning and crackling. It will shred you, your limbs and your insides, melt your eyes and your mouths, your ears and your noses, sliding you apart. But no death, never. Not to one of you. This is the Inferno of always." A searchlight shone in my face. "You, living man, stand away." Then my forester spoke up. "Sharon, stop roaring at this man. A visitor. He walks in peace." The ferryman's face shut. Those on the quayside were herded, the ferry crew pushing them on board with barbed goads, flailing them in the air and gashing their backs bloody, to fill each square centimetre of deck and gangway, of ladder and porthole, shoving them so they fell and were trampled upon, crushing them all in. And the ferryman himself, Charon, strutting and stamping on toes and fingers and faces, kicking and swaggering in his roll. And all the time, more came down to the beach to wait. The forester to me. They are all in hatred of their parents' acts of creation. A frenzy of a beach crowd it was, as they were sucked and dragged, paddling and grasping at each other. But not all looked to be in pain. Some seemed sexualized, groping, fondling one another. And there was sperm and sex and tears and cryings out as they lay there, crawling and huddling on the sand. And those now, all aboard their boat, to be borne hard across the waters dark, on their way to what seemed the very emptiest of depths. And we, and all the crowds left, waiting by the bank, I fell into a deep sleep.